Alright guys, this is Breaker and I am back. Not putting on any funny voices this time around, and I'm going to give you guys an authentic cast. Basically what I would typically do in any replay or otherwise, or even a tournament in some cases. But in the lower right hand corner, spawning as our Zerg in the red trunks. Give it up for eXeA's, not first GM, but definitely first Zerg NA GM. It's DIRESTRAIT, guys. And in the upper left-hand corner, spawning as our Protoss in the blue trunks. Let's see who he's up against. It's TKS DeathEnD. Now TKS does have a bit of an impression in my mind. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't really place it. At any rate, we do have him opting for a Forge Fast Expand opener. I think what we may see it trending into would be a Stargate follow-up. That seems to be what a lot of GMs are doing as Protoss versus Zerg these days. And the probe's going to come in here and see that there's actually, that was a particularly early pool. That was a 12 pool from Dire. Well, it looks like we may not see the silly shenanigans that we are used to seeing from him. But let's just wait and see how this game goes. The probe's just going to wait here for whatever amount of time it has to before it does its best to block the expo from DIRESTRAIT. But I think basically our Protoss is completely oblivious as to when this pool went down. And I'm thinking he could actually be in a bit of trouble if he's not careful. We do have an Overlord in production, and nothing else right now, really. So it seems that Dire is actually, his present goal is to just save Larva. There's 2 right now. Is there 3? No. But Forge just now going down. If I didn't miss my mark, if I didn't miss my guess, then I'm thinking these Lings could be here before the cannon is finished. The probe goes in, sees that a drone has just been pulled, and he now knows that something's up. But this is actually fairly standard play from high masters, GMs, pros alike. It looks like Dire's actually not concerned with getting into his opponent's main, actually, so looks like we're going to have Protoss go into defensive mode, no problem. Relatively little trouble. Maybe in his situation I would have put 1 Ling out there and just had to chase that probe around, but that's just me. Still lots of rooms for dangerous shenanigans, and we do have, I'm sorry, I should put this up sooner, DeathEnD going for a double gas right now in the main. Forge Fast Expand opener. Let me see. I'm a little curious as to see when we will see double gases going down in the natural for DeathEnD. Of course, Dire's just kind of tacking on the queens. Queen at the natural, going to the natural, actually spreading creep first. Can respect that. Overlord, excuse me, Flying Fortress coming in here and getting a good look at just what's going on in DeathEnd's main. And of course the question is, when are we going to see the gases go down? I've said that before, but this is particularly critical. If it goes down towards the early 6-minute mark, then what we could see from Protoss, according to the classical Wings of Liberty openings, Twilight Council play, possibly leading up into DTs, but even, you know, DTs on 2 base, that's kind of difficult to pull off. But from DIRESTRAIT we have double gas going down as well. This can lead into, I want to say that this only happens 1 in 10 times that I bring it up, but this can lead into 2 base mutaplay. Nidus all-ins, of course. Early Infestor tech. Now we have 13 probes on the natural. Looks like we don't have gas being taken just yet. We do have a Mothership core in production, however, down here at the natural. +1 attack is now on the way for Protoss. So this tells me that we're going to have a heavy focus on gateway-oriented units. Double gas going down at the natural for Dire. And now Spine Crawlers, because he has to go in defensive mode. He realizes just what his opponent is up to. He's going to put some pressure on. And I'm thinking this Twilight Council, well, given the 4 gates that we see, I'm not entirely surprised. This actually does save a little more gas in the long run. DeathEnD is not aiming for an all-in with this. I think just really putting on pressure and getting a contain out is really all I can think of at present. Alright, so we have 3 queens holding against this, and 3 queens can easily take down a mothership core, but not when they're being, what's the word I'm looking for? Time warped. Very good creep extension, and now DIRESTRAIT can see that by the fact that these zealots were the first thing warped in over here. He knows for a fact that his opponent is saving gas for something. The only question is, what on earth is it? Looks like we're going to have some Blink Stalker play as the choice for DeathEnD. Now, we did have an Overlord try and go in here and get a read on just what's happening, but let's go ahead and see what Dire knows about his opponent. So far, nothing aside from the SimCity at the front, a pylon going down at the corner of the base, and that's about it. He has an Infestation Pit going down at the same time as a Nidus Worm, and this really seems to be what, this is the trending play that we see between high-level ZVP players. RoboBay is actually cranking out an Observer. I like this choice. There's also 4 Swarm Hosts on the way. We have Enduring Locust being researched, and it looks like Dire's basically opting to go sort of all in with this. He's actually putting queens down. And an Observer's moving out. It's going to see the Nidus Worm. Yes, it sees it now. But it's too late for Protoss to move out and do anything about it. There we go. Lots of queens. Swarm hosts kind of moving forward. And now we have vision here from the Overseer that is morphing. There's 2 observers here, and if he really wants to save that one, he shouldn't have thrown it at his opponent. And this one is also dangerously close. Aggressive blink forward by DeathEnD. He really wants to shut that down, and he's doing a damn good job of it. My god, DIRESTRAIT is actually in a heap of trouble right now. He's trying to pull back these queens, but he just can't do it. Alright, and now here we go. There it is. DIRESTRAIT says, ha ha ha. Just where are things gonna go from here? He's kind of stuck in a rut right now. He's like, yes, hearts, hearts, hearts. Just how does he follow this up? He says, je manque le up snipe. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Oh, but there's a Nidus going down in the main, and as far as I know, Protoss is not even remotely aware of it. Yes, that's beautiful, actually. Beautiful work by DIRESTRAIT. I never would have guessed. And there it is, everything going into the main. Gonna get some probe kills, it's just uncertain how many. Rally point, could have been modified, could have been a little bit better, but it looks like for now he's gonna focus down the main. And he's on borrowed time. He could actually, he can make this worthwhile. Locust coming into defensive fashion on the 3rd for DIRESTRAIT. And the Nexus in the main is gonna fall. There we go. Wow, okay, and oh no, I think that would have been a beautiful opportunity for Dire to attack. I mean, his Zerglings had a kind of almost complete surround on those Stalkers. But now we actually have like even double optimal saturation on the natural for our blue toss. Dire is able to read into this. He sees that his opponent's gonna have to spend 800 minerals on 2 Nexi. Actually, one of them was spent on Nexi before he went into the main. And the Swarm Hosts can be a game changer. But I really like this creep spread by Dire. Look at it. The creep tumors, come on. He's got creep outside of his opponent's base. This is something I would expect from the little one, TLO. But oh, this is actually quite bad. if Dire's not careful, he could end up losing a lot of these swarm hosts. He's actually going to use the Locust to kind of chase off these units. After all, it is free borrowed time, free of charge. Looks like a few Zealots are going to fall, but no real perma damage. I want to say that we could see a Nidus Worm go down somewhere around here-ish. There's still plenty of room here for a Nidus Worm. One here as well. The Swarm Host is just kind of chilling out in the middle of the map. They're actually quite a useful unit in every aspect except for Sky Toss. And already at the 14-minute mark, we see Protoss ground weapons level 3 in research, while we only see DIRESTRAIT getting his +1 missile attacks, muscular augments, and he is researching ground carapace. Look, Swarm Host almost walked into a disaster there. And now we have DeathEnD just clearing away creep with a relatively small death ball. But that death ball will continue to grow as we do now see that the income is actually relatively even for both players. Dyer's is about to go up just a teeny bit because he just rallied a bunch of drones to this 4th base at the 6 o'clock position. And I really like the way that DIRESTRAIT is using his locusts. He's actually he's sending them out. He's trying to get vision. They are, you know, in addition to creep tumors, overlords, changelings, locusts also make for free vision as well as a free minute assault. So here we go. DIRESTRAIT sending out the locusts, and they're gonna get a pylon kill, I think. Yeah, as much as a given. Oh, an aggressive blink on top of all of these swarm hosts. The question is it going to work against DeathEnD or for him? Wow, it's a relatively even-ish exchange, but my god, that was a really bad move. A lot of these guys are actually red health, and that's working out better for Dire than it did DeathEnD. He's going to try and move forward aggressively. Nothing wrong with that, but he needs to really get some defenses up for these locusts. As long as they are unburrowed, they're in a lot of trouble. And ouch, he actually loses 4 of them right here. He's like, ah, Monsieur Lavier. Lavier. I don't get it. My French is decrepit. Yeah. DIRESTRAIT now 40 supply above his opponent. 40-ish supply above his opponent. He needs to burrow these locusts or swarm hosts if he actually wants to get an attack out. And DeathEnd's just doing his best to deal with those swarm hosts as he can. The locust, of course, not making his day any easier. Void Ray is now coming into the mix, and this could be the death knell that we've been waiting for from DeathEnD, if you will. I mean, there's a couple of observers following these guys around, and just now do we actually see production of Hydras going into play. We've actually had muscular augments ready for a while now. +2/+2 about to finish up for DIRESTRAIT. One thing that you must keep in mind is that DeathEnD here actually does not, he doesn't have any upgrades for Void Rays, but who needs upgrades when you have prismatic alignment? Yes, Protoss OP. I'm kidding. And we have a fleet beacon going down right now, so this opens the path from a mothership core to a mothership. And what else? I'm trying to think here. What else will we be seeing? Most likely, maybe some carriers, maybe some Tempests. It all really depends on how this game boils, or how this game turns out. Dire, meanwhile, taking an expo at about the 2 o'clock-ish position. And this one just finishing up a few minutes ago. Yeah, just maybe even a minute ago. I would say not more than a minute ago in game time. At the 9 o'clock position. And these swarm hosts are getting ready to burrow in aggressive fashion. Third is actually relatively exposed, but the main army of Protoss is actually right here. Alright, here we go. A bunch of Lings are actually... Oh my god, that is so brilliant by DIRESTRAIT. He's actually willing to throw away all of these Lings just to get a Nexus kill. And it worked so beautifully. Like, the Colossi could not actually move on to their Lings, because if they did, that would have meant that they would be walking right into the path of those Locusts, and they would all be dead. Meanwhile, the Locusts are poking away at the front door of the SimCity here. Not really getting any kills off on what was back here. Now we have Tempest. The Tempest will actually help. They will go a long way fighting against the Swarm hosts, as well as the Hydras. They actually have range, but they don't get a buff versus Hydras. Let's see. It's been a while since I've seen them used in-game. The only thing they get a buff against is anything massive. And now we have a reinforcing Nidus Worm going into the mix for Dire Strait. He is now presently 48 supply above his opponent, and if we are going to see DeathEnD come out ahead in this, he is going to have to be meticulously careful. One thing that I can also stress to you right now is if Dire has the Lings to throw away, he could actually throw down a Nidus Worm right here and kind of just strain the multitasking of DeathEnD, because his main army wouldn't be able to deal with the Nidus Worm because they're too busy dealing with the Locusts here. I'm not day 9, I'm not going to make you a better gamer, but it's just some food for thought, guys, and now we have a bunch of Hydras going toe-to-toe with the Void Rays because the Colossi are too busy dealing with the Swarm hosts. Alright, now both players just kind of backing off for a minute. Oracle's now in production. I'm wondering if that was a misclick. At any rate, here we go. Locusts kind of burning their way forward. There are now 15 Swarm hosts right here. A bunch more workers getting put on the 6th base for Dire Strait. Let's see how many workers he has right now. 84. Alright, now we have an aggressive move forward by Dire Strait. He's like, okay, well, you know what? There's no Colossi here. I'm going to kill your Sky Toss army. And here it is. There's now only Tempest left, and there we see the ... from DeathEnD. He says GG, and he just leaves the game. Alright, so I was never a fan of Brood War. The games that we see people playing now seem to be lasting longer and longer, and honestly, it's all due to the new units that are integrated into the game. Brilliant work by Blizzard, especially on the part of music, on the part of everything else, and so on and so forth. But if you guys liked what you saw here, just go ahead and click on the subscribe button. It should have been blinking for a while now. This has been Breaker. I'll see you guys next time.